What's up guys, I'm Dean and welcome back to my channel. Today I was going to do a review on Ghostbusters Afterlife. What I thought would be more interesting if I ranked all 4 Ghostbusters movies. I'm sure you guys are very familiar with me ranking things on my TikTok, so why not do it on YouTube, you know, shake things up once in a while. So I'm going to be doing spoilers for the first 3 Ghostbusters movies, not the new one. I will get into spoilers about the new one, but I'll leave a nice clear warning for that one if you don't want to be spoiled for that one. And also, please like, please comment, please subscribe. I really enjoy making YouTube videos, and the more interaction I get on these, the more of these I'm going to make. Let's get into my ranking, starting in 4th place. We have Ghostbusters 2016. Is this a surprise to anyone? Probably not. I don't hate this movie, but I also don't like it, and it's the only movie on this list that I don't like. Let's get into the specifics. I do not have a problem with them making an all-female Ghostbusters movie. That isn't an issue that this universe has or this movie has. That wasn't news that was heartbreaking to me or anything like that. The problems with this movie is just that it's too sanitized and it's trying too hard. This doesn't feel like it takes place in a real New York, and that's a really key element of the first 2 for me, is that setting of New York works so well, and here it just doesn't work. And also, this movie isn't incredibly funny at its core. Ghostbusters is a comedy, and this one is just trying too hard to be funny. They're telling too many jokes, which I know sounds stupid, but the humour in the first 2 Ghostbusters movies don't come from jokes. It comes from situations and these well-established characters. Yes, the cast is great, but the characters in this aren't established brilliantly. The team doesn't have amazing chemistry. Chris Hemsworth's amazing, and all the actresses are amazing. Just they didn't have great chemistry, and they didn't really feel that real to me. Another issue I have with this movie is it kind of feels like a bad prequel, and that's because they spend so long getting to the bit where they're Ghostbusters. And I know it sounds dumb to say it's a bad prequel because it's a reboot, but the original Ghostbusters they become Ghostbusters in the first 20 minutes, and then they're out there catching ghosts for the rest of the movie. But this movie, you get the origin of the car, you get the origin of the logo, you get the origin of the weapons, you get the origin of the suits, you get all these different origins that the first original movie kind of skips over, and that works fine. Here they just get bogged down by plot. There is too much plot here, too much going on, and it's just not very funny, so you're not even distracted by the plot, by anything. I'm not a fan of this movie. If you want to hear me talk about this movie more, if you want to hear me improve it, I did talk about it on my podcast this week, which I host with Fluffy Duffy. We talked about the good, we talked about the bad, and then we tried to improve it. But yeah, I also think this movie looks too clean. Like it's too sanitized, and it doesn't look grimy enough, and they're all in their lovely clean beige suits all the time without them getting messy, and the slime doesn't even feel that disgusting. Like I said, there's just too many jokes, and it's a way too quippy movie. I do like the cameo of the original cast. I think the cameos of the original cast, I think they work well, and this was well cast. Just it needed a better script, and it needed more interesting direction, because they don't bust that many ghosts, and the ghosts they do bust aren't interesting and don't have interesting designs, unlike the original. But anyway, let's move on into 3rd place. 3rd place is the new movie Ghostbusters Afterlife, and I liked this movie. I'm not going to be talking spoilers yet. I'll give a big spoiler warning, and then I'll show a time on the screen to skip to. But this movie is the least Ghostbusters movie out of the 4 they've made. And that doesn't mean it's the worst one. Clearly it's not the worst one, because I put it in 3rd place. But it just doesn't feel very Ghostbusters, or it's very Steven Spielberg-esque Stranger Things vibes from this, and that doesn't really fit with this world. It is also the one that's trying to be the least comedic. Like, it's not trying to be funny most of the time. I still think it's funnier than the 2016 one, because I didn't really find that funny at all. I think this one has funny moments, but at its core, for me, the Ghostbusters movie, the original, is a comedy, and this one isn't. You don't go to Ghostbusters to watch the great action and the heart and all that sort of thing. You go for the comedy, and this one kind of lacks that, but it treated its past very well. it was a sequel. It was a Force Awakens style sequel without being bogged down in the past. It referenced it in really cool ways, but I don't think it went into that too much at all. Of course, we've got some returning cast members, as the trailer shows, and I think for the most part they were used very well. And the new characters are interesting too. I think it's a good choice to focus on the children. I think the children are a really interesting part of this. And I do like the ghosts in this. There are some interesting ghost designs, and like it is a bit grimier. Still not like as bad as the first one. I'm just torn on the setting. I think it's a very interesting choice to set it in this town in the middle of nowhere instead of New York, because New York is such a strong part of the first two movies. So I don't know entirely if that worked, but apart from that, I did enjoy it. I thought it was fun. I thought that everyone had good chemistry in it. I enjoyed seeing the old faces. I don't think it was bogged down by the past too much. I did enjoy it. No. Okay, we'll be talking about spoilers. If you want to avoid spoilers, just skip to this time down below. I'll give you a second to run off. Ugh. I did this joke last time, I think, and it wasn't that funny then either. Okay. So, I really loved the touch of Egon here, of Harold Ramis, sadly passed away. I think his part in this movie, his ghost communicating with all of them, I thought that worked very well. Egon is my favourite Ghostbuster, I think. So I did enjoy all of that touch. And when he came back, yeah, it was a bit odd him not talking, that sort of thing, but I thought it was a touching moment. And I think it went on for just the right amount of time. He didn't outstay his welcome. And I would say the same about the three main returning cast members. I did enjoy seeing them all. I liked the phone call with Dan Aykroyd, even though that did. The phone call with Dan Aykroyd was one of the weaker bits. But seeing the three cast members return was a cool moment, and I appreciated it. And they didn't outstay their welcome, and they didn't outshine the new cast. But like I said, the new cast was good. McKenna Grace was the highlight for me. I would have liked to see more from Paul Rudd and that sort of thing. Interesting thing about Paul Rudd's character, this is the side note and a small thing, and it isn't really a complaint or a compliment. Like, his character treats science, and this movie as a whole treats science as a beautiful and a wonderful and a magical thing that opens many doors, where in the original Ghostbusters it is just dealt as, I mean, the scientists are just glorified janitors, which I think is an interesting note. But yeah, I liked Ghostbusters Afterlife. I did give it 3 stars, and I do want to see more Ghostbusters. I'm interested to see where they take this series, and I want it back in New York, which looks like it's going to happen. So I'm looking forward to that. Anyway, with all that said and done, let's move into second place, which, funny enough, Ghostbusters 2. I understand a lot of people's complaints about Ghostbusters 2, and for that reason, I did nearly put it in third place and Ghostbusters Afterlife in second place. But I think Ghostbusters 2 still does have its charm. I think it may be even better than the first movie. It sets us in like a real and grimy and gross and mean New York, and I think it handles that so well, and I think it builds upon the first movie in interesting ways. Playing like where they start with them being bankrupt and not really the Ghostbusters. I think that's a really interesting place to start the movie, and I think their journey to becoming Ghostbusters once again is really interesting. The characters still have great chemistry. Egon is a highlight in this movie for me. I think this movie is where he really shines. There's hilarious lines Harold Ramis has, like when he says, "Oh, I didn't have toys as a kid." Then like, not even a slinky. No, we had one, but I straightened it out. Like, that's very funny. There are very funny moments in this movie. I say there's very funny moments in this movie. I'm going to backtrack on that. The biggest flaw with Ghostbusters 2 for me is that it's not incredibly funny. It's nowhere near as funny as the first one, and that's a big issue for me. I know I said the Ghostbusters is all about comedy, and now I've said 3 of them aren't particularly funny. But this one isn't incredibly funny. I don't think they're trying to be incredibly funny, and those elements don't work for me. Another big complaint I have about this movie is that Bill Murray is kind of phoning in his performance. I think he clearly doesn't want to be there, so he's not really putting in a good performance, and I think that's a real shame. I also really love the Empire State Building returning. I think that element works really well, if I'm being honest. And something I do appreciate about Ghostbusters 2, Ghostbusters 2, is that it's an incredibly weird movie, 2. And I like the weirdness in Ghostbusters. That's something I really appreciate about the franchise. Also, I really don't like Rick Moranis' part in Ghostbusters 2. I don't think that works at all, really. But apart from that, I think it's a good continuation. I think it's a good sequel. it builds off the first one well. And it's got a good villain as well. It's got an interesting villain. Just it doesn't reach the heights of the original. So I'm sure you've all figured out, in first place has to be the original Ghostbusters 1984. A brilliant movie. Where to start with this movie? What I love about this movie is a complaint I had about the 2016 one, is that it's not bogged down in plot at all. Like I've already said, they become Ghostbusters in 25 minutes, and then the rest of the movie is just left for them to muck around and run amok in New York. And I think I love all of those elements. I love them busting ghosts in this movie. This movie has some great ghost busting. I love the team's chemistry. I think they all work brilliantly. This is Bill Murray's best appearance in the franchise, obviously. The real beauty of the Ghostbusters for me is just that these aren't impressive or noble men. They're gross, mean men. Bill Murray's a bit of a creep, and Peter Venkman's a bit of a creep, and they're just treated as glorified janitors. They're just exterminators, but for ghosts. And I love this kind of take on ghosts, that they kind of just show up in their sweaty, dirty overalls and sort out the ghosts. And this one captures that idea of the Ghostbusters best, and really shows you what the Ghostbusters are like at its core. It is an incredibly funny movie, by far the funniest of the four. I love the villain, I love the setting. The Stay Puft Marshmallow Man is ingenious and hilarious. I think this movie is really lightning in a bottle, because I think it is one of a kind, because it is so weird, and I love how weird it is. Just all those elements really, really work for me. So there we have it. That's the 4 Ghostbusters movies ranked. Do you agree with my ranking? I think people should have the same 4th and 1st place, if I'm being honest, but 2nd and 3rd are a bit interchangeable for me. I struggled to rank those 2. Anyway, please like, please comment, please subscribe. Thank you for watching, really means a lot, and see you next time. Bye.